Hey, welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Zach. I'm here with Coach Zach and Sweetest Candy, Coach Brandy. What's going on?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
Doing great.
Good.
Zach, I feel like you're fired up for this episode.
Yeah, it's one of my more favorite ones of our topics we've done. So
Yeah, but this was kind of your idea. So
yeah,
I brought this topic up in a meeting. This was a while back, and just wanted to kind of like highlight some different things. One, to do kind of a check for ourselves, like a little self check, and make sure that we didn't do anything on this list. But also that we recognize the industry and some major flaws of what's out there, right? And what people are exposed to. And so we came up with, I guess, bad qualities of a personal trainer, or like the negatives that exist that we see a lot in mainstream training from trainers, and that, you know, people should be aware of, because a lot of times I feel like they're not aware of them. They're not, you know, they might think they have a great trainer and they actually don't. We've talked about, we've kind of mentioned that before, or just, if you're looking for a trainer, maybe some things to observe and be aware of before you choose one, right? So bad qualities of a personal trainer or a coach. Go, Zach.
I brought the topic up because I've heard it from everybody. Everybody says like, oh, my trainer is the best, or my coach is the best. And like, I've seen a number of trainers and coaches. I think
I know where this is heading.
And
Go, okay.
like most of them that I've seen like aren't that great, let alone like actually great. Like if you're going to be like, oh, my coach is awesome, my coach is great. Clients, like, they might really develop a great relationship with them, but it does not mean, that means they could be a great person, but it doesn't mean they're a great trainer, a great coach. So like, it's important to differentiate and make it clear, like, somebody might be very personable and very great to get along with, but that doesn't mean they can deliver like effective results and training methods and things like that.
That brings up an interesting, I guess, kind of dilemma that exists within our industry. I don't think there's another business that exists where you're interacting with like from a client to, you know, employee, like where you're interacting with that person for an extended period of time, 4, 5, 6 days a week.
Right.
And so there's one on one side of the coin, like you have to have somebody that's, like you're saying, Zach, is a good, effective trainer. Like they know their stuff, they have the knowledge base, but also you have to have that person that is personable and you enjoy spending an hour with that many times a week. Basically, that person's becoming your friend, your confidant, like they're a part of your life. And so I think, you know, what we see more often than not is that person that is personable and that you like becomes qualified in the client's mind as being a great trainer, when in reality, they're just somebody that you like and they might not have all the skills necessary to help you achieve what it is you originally set out to achieve.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what sets a good coach apart from a great coach. I think a great coach is someone that can do both, that is personable, that can develop the relationship with the clients, but then also, you know, knows their stuff, can deliver an effective training session and help clients achieve the results that they want to achieve. And, you know, and then I'll add to that, someone who really cares about assisting and guiding, coaching the member to get the desired results that they want. So someone that is caring about results.
Number one on our list is doesn't care. And when I started personal training, I don't have a degree in this. I have a business degree. I was 22 when I started training, and I became a personal trainer because I worked out at the gym and I was like in love with the front desk girl. And I wanted to date her, but I didn't want to be like the gym creep, right? So I like devised this stalker plan to become a personal trainer, start working at the gym, and then maybe I would, be able to like date her, right? So it worked out because she's my wife now, right? We got two kids. So it wasn't as creepy as it sounds. I mean, the stars aligned, whatever. I was a student at Scottsdale Community College. I went to the library there and I checked out a NASM personal training book. I took the ACE certification test because it was cheaper.
Right.
And my investment to become a personal trainer, I think, was $300 to take the exam. I studied that book. I went and took I think I got like a 75 or something on this test because it was like a lot of the principles were similar, but different nomenclature, that type of thing. And that's how I became a personal trainer. I had 0 qualifications outside of the fact that I knew how to work out, which be cautious because, people on Instagram are posting pictures of themselves shirtless and they look good. And you're like, oh, that person must know what they're talking about. I had no idea what I was talking about or what I was doing. I just knew how to work out. I became a personal trainer. And the only reason that I have been in this industry is because I cared enough about the clients, the people that were giving me money and trusting their health and fitness with me. I cared enough to go and study and research and get better. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. Those people who were giving me money when I first started, I look back and I'm like, they had no idea that I had no idea. Right? So I think that, one, make sure you find, an experienced coach that actually knows what they're talking about, which I didn't at the time, but because I cared enough, I figured it out for my clients. And there were very few people that I led astray because I picked up on things pretty quickly because I was like, oh, these people just gave me a lot of money. I got to figure out how to help them.
Right.
Right. So to me, that's the most important quality of a personal trainer is that they care enough to, if they don't have the knowledge, to learn so that they can help their clients.
Right.
I think that also is like an umbrella term, like because if you care, then a lot of the other things on our list you do because you care. So like we have a lot of things like if you're not prepared, you're not confident, you're not whatever it may be, like not punctual, not engaged, all those things are things that if you don't care, you do that. But if you do care, you do all of those things. So like it's a perfect thing to be at the top of the list anyway, because you could have many of those other like qualities that are very important, but if you don't care, it's not really, you're not going to implement them properly or effectively anyway. Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. You see it a lot. Not here because the coaches we'd fire you immediately. But you see it a lot in big box gyms. It's like a coach is sitting on a stability ball and they're on their phone while the client's sitting there doing the workout.
Right.
Like you don't care about your client, right? You're not training your client. You're not coaching them, instructing them. You're just whatever you're doing. You're texting.
Yeah, right. Or they're looking around the gym. I see
not
all the
paying
time.
attention.
Yeah. They just put them on the machine, then they kind of like look around as they're doing their set.
Or they're like constantly snapping photos of their clients and posting them on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And that's just they're just doing that to self-promote. It's not like, hey, I'm trying to actually help my client. Like I get it. It's a business. You got to market, but there's a fine line between doing that and, not and coaching your clients.
Right. Investing your time, the time that you are training, investing that time in the client, making sure that that you are paying attention to them, helping them, correcting form, making sure they're getting through the training program. Yeah, no, that's another thing I think that I've seen at other gyms is trainers not correcting bad form.
Yeah, they just let their clients get away with it. I tell all of the coaches, like any coach that we've ever had here that I've hired, I'm like, if you can't correct a client's form, then you can't work here. That's literally like your job. I mean, people are coming here because they have no idea what to do, how to safely do the exercises. And if you're afraid or lazy or whatever it is to tell your client, like, hey, if you do deadlifts with a rounded back, you're going to hurt yourself. Like, let's fix that. If you can't do that, You cannot be a personal trainer.
So important.
Yeah.
I just think most of they just are not knowledgeable enough to like safely like produce results. Like most
That's
people,
on our list is doesn't get results.
well, and like I just think most of them are kind of in the same situation that you were in, but they just lack the like determination to actually learn. Like maybe you didn't go like school for it, but like we're still a student in the sense that like you still just went and learned it yourself. So like I feel like most people,
they're punching a clock.
yeah, and they don't know enough to like maybe even properly correct form, or just like to give correct workout exercises, programs, how to effectively do them. Yeah. And like I hear it all the time. If I like go work out at like a commercial gym, I have to like look away, like go somewhere else. Like some of the things you hear people say, it's just like because they learned from other people in the gym who are also just as little knowledgeable as other people. It's just kind of like common information that was passed on that was just believed to be true, that is not true, and it's not like founded in any sort of research or anything like that. And like it's working out, but like it's very much like a science field, because everything that you learn correctly is like founded through like proven research. Because if you don't know the research, you don't keep up to date with any sort of research, and the like practices that you implement are not research backed, like it's just like, then you're just working off of like case studies, like, oh, it worked for this person. Well, that doesn't matter. Like that's not like one person could just be an outlier. It's not representative of the general population. So if you just go based off of something that you might have seen work for you or for somebody else, like for some reason in the exercising portion of this like fitness field, I feel like that gets a pass, but like nutrition doesn't. Everybody understands like, oh, this works for you, but it doesn't work for me. For some reason, I feel like that is so much more widely accepted versus like exercises. It's like, oh, do this, like it works. And that's why like we've seen things from like the Arnold days of them doing exercise. And it's like, oh, because Arnold did it, we need to do it. Like it doesn't mean it works. Like there's plenty of things people did that were stupid and like you should never do.
Yeah. We train a lot of women that are 40 plus. Zach, are you 40 plus years old?
No.
Are you a woman?
Not last time I checked. No.
Okay. So just because you're fit doesn't make you qualified to train somebody that's a female that's 40 plus years old who has like not the same body type as you.
Correct. There's plenty of people you see in the gym who like have fantastic like bodies. They look like they know what they're doing, but it doesn't mean they could actually be an effective coach or anybody.
Yeah. And it's, you mentioned being like having the capability to instruct somebody. And I think if somebody's a poor communicator, our jobs are teachers, right? I mean, really we're teaching, fitness. And if you have a teacher that sucks at communication, then you're not going to be able to get the result from your students. You're not going to see your students learn and grow. And so it's the same ideas. Like we have to be able to communicate how to do the exercises properly, what the purpose is behind the program, behind the movements. A lot of times we're telling our clients like they want to do something that is too difficult for them. They don't have the ability to do it safely yet. And therefore it's not going to be the most effective thing for them. We have to be able to teach them and explain to them like, hey, you shouldn't do that. And a lot of times we will lose that client because somebody else is telling them that, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Just come here and do it. Like we'll work hard, or they're telling them something's important that's not important, but that's the answer that they want to hear. And so they'll go and do that. If we can't communicate to them and explain to them, here's what you need to be doing, then we're failing them.
Right.
We're failing them.
I feel like you also need to be like, I mean, you need to be adaptable in every way as a coach, but like in communication specifically, like you need to like learn, like you can learn really quickly. Like you have to communicate in different forms. So if you're like coaching multiple different people like we are, like within one session, you might have to deliver the same message like 5 different ways because people are receptive to certain things and other people are not. Like some people, I could be like, no, like you're not strong enough to do that exercise. You can't do that. And like they're perfectly fine with that. other people that would like destroy them. You could never say it like that. You have to like be so much more like gentle or work your way around it. But so it's like you need to be adaptable, of course, like in exercise selection and things like that. But like just in learning how to communicate, no matter what the message is, I feel like if you're a good coach, like you understand like the correct way to go about any sort of like explanation, things like that. Because if you can't like effectively deliver the message, it doesn't matter if that message like is true. Like people, it's useless, right?
Yeah.
If people can't receive it.
I think communication and adaptability are very, very important in having a good coach. We have to communicate, what it is that we're wanting to get from the client, but then also know and be able to adapt that communication based on each individual style, because some people, and that goes along the lines of, how hard we push certain clients as well. There's some clients that we can push really hard. They want to be pushed. They want to, they really want that challenge. And then there are other clients where, maybe in some cases you have to back off a little bit and you just need to know how to adapt, when to adapt, still maintaining the goals and getting the results that we're wanting to achieve, that the client's wanting to achieve. So really important. I also, you mentioned earlier, continuous learning. I think having a growth mindset is super important because things you talked about Arnold earlier, and things change over time. So I think a good coach needs to have that growth mindset and be adaptable themselves as well, as science changes, as data changes, and we continue to learn and then implement those new learnings.
Yeah, I mean, we have on our list like stubbornness or unwillingness to learn. And there's a lot of coaches that just get set in their ways and they don't evolve, or they're unwilling to accept new research as it comes out. And there are things like, I've been doing this for, going on over a decade now, and things that I learned, it was like, no, that was actually not the correct way to do something, right. or not the most efficient or effective way to do something. Yeah. So you have to constantly be growing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about snake oil. So Zach's going to get pumped up for this. There are a lot of gimmicks in the diet, exercise realm, right? This is a multi-billion-dollar annual industry, and it's not conducive to the industry to, from a sales perspective and revenue perspective, to say, hey, here's this really simplistic system that works, exercise, eat right, and you'll get results. And so there's this sect of our industry that's always trying to oversell and overcomplicate things. And if you ask, you take 20 people that are overweight and you ask them where do you start? They're all going to give you a different answer. Some of them will probably say I don't know where to start. And it's because there's so much information and so many fallacies out there, and they've tried so many different things and they're confused. And so there's a lot of trainers like that are overcomplicating things in order to pitch something and appeal to that person that's like, well, I've never tried that before. Let me do it. Right. Zach?
You're correct. For people who like me, it's infuriating to whatever. I call tons of exercises Instagram exercise, which just means it looks cool, or it looks like it's doing something. It's not. Tons of people will send me videos or whatever. They'll ask me about something. I was like, no, that's just an Instagram exercise. Because there's tons of people who it's a normal, if you were to sell a program to somebody who doesn't know anything and you're oh, we're going to do these 4 or 5 core exercises and we're going to do them over and over again, week after week after week. And that's it. Like we're not going to change those things versus somebody who's like, I'm going to give you a new exercise every day you've never done before. It's going to be a totally different format. Like everyone, like all people who don't know, they're going to,
it's a shiny object.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah,
it's just whatever you can use to sell. So like, it doesn't really matter because they're not trying to actually sell you on whatever. They're literally just trying to sell you on whatever it is they're pitching you. It's not about like results or this will work. Like they just tell you it'll work because they know this certain like whatever is going to get your attention. It's not about like actually what will work, or it's really not even about the client. It's just about their money. It's not about like trying to get what will work the best. Because if it was, everybody would be saying the same thing. Because we all know like the same things work. Like that's it. Like that's why all those people who've been doing it for a very long time and have been following like proper like methods to like achieve whatever results, like pretty much everybody does. Some things are nuanced and slightly different because different things work for different people, but that means different things like different variations of the same format or exercise. It doesn't mean totally different exercises. You see people standing on one leg and doing a bunch of crazy things that
yeah. And I think if you've ever seen, coaches that or trainers that are filming for Instagram and post those like crazy workouts on Instagram, usually they'll go in and do a regular workout. They're not filming for their workout, right?
Yes.
But then they'll turn the camera on after they're done with their regular workout and then film those,
something
the TikTok catchy exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what they're posting. And, that's really not what they're doing to get the results that they have themselves.
Right.
Yeah, if they did all the things that they like post, they would not look the way that they look. It just doesn't work that way.
And if it sounds too good to be true, it really probably is.
Fact. There's some obvious ones on this sheet, like they're not punctual, they don't have time management skills, right? Like I think it's pretty, common in the industry. Like a lot of coaches have terrible time management skills, and they make their clients like pick all these different random times, and there's no consistency, and like the client's schedule revolves around the coach's schedule and not the other way around. All kind of just professional based things. Like that's I guess an attitude of somebody that's just a fly by night,
right.
Trainer versus somebody that's a business person and understands that they need to be organized and have a professional business. The one on here that I want to kind of conclude with is they don't hold their clients accountable. Mm-hmm. We've talked about accountability substantial amount on this podcast. This is one that I think, a lot of coaches get into the industry because they do care about their clients. But there's a difference between like how do I put this? If you care about your clients, you hold them accountable. And our clients are amazing people. They give us gifts. They love us. We become friends with them. They take us out to dinner, whatever. But there has to be a good coach draws the line and says, I don't care that, you just brought me a bottle of bourbon, right? In my case, I don't care that you just brought me a bottle of bourbon. No, you're not going to cancel your training session because you have whatever BS excuse to give me today. You're going to show up here. Otherwise, I'm going to charge you a no-show fee. And they hold their client accountable.
Right.
And clients do not, they need it, but they don't want it. And if you have a bad coach, your coach will let you off the hook every time. And that's probably the number one indicator is that person can be super personable. They can have the knowledge, but a good coach holds you accountable. Fitness, nutrition, accountability. Right. Those are really the three things that you need in order to get results.
Right.
And if somebody can't cover all three of those bases, you don't have a good coach.
Exactly.
I think as a coach, they get very worried about upsetting the client like momentarily. Like I feel like they want to be their friend more so than like their coach, or they want to be like liked at all times. Like there's many, many times throughout the session that somebody will tell me like, I don't like you right now. And it's like a joke, but it's like, not really.
You're like, thank you.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Then I'm doing my job.
Yeah. Like I'm not afraid for you to like be upset at me because like you're there because you need something, like you need help. And like, if you were to just as a coach, just kind of like let them off the hook with all these little things like, oh yeah, we don't have to move up. We don't have to come in today because we're feeling tired or whatever it may be. Like there's always some sort of reason that you can make up. And like an average or bad coach will just be like, oh, that's okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Like, sure, there are certain situations, like, yeah, they don't need to come in every single day or whatever it may be. But I think a lot of coaches are very worried about maybe like losing the client if they are too rough on them or whatever it may be. That kind of goes back to the same thing about communicating, like we talked about earlier, like you need to be able to deliver the message. But a lot of people, I think they're too worried about like being friends with them and not their coach. Like you become friends with them because you're a good coach. Like that's the way it goes. They might not like you like all the time, but they will love you for it. Like if you like pushing them is like the perfect example. Like they don't want to use heavier weights all the time. They don't want to work harder, whether that means heavier weights or not. But like if you push them, they will love you for it eventually. It doesn't mean that they like, because they appreciate that you pushed them even though they didn't want to be pushed or whatever it may be, because you knew that was what was best for them. Because if you actually do care about your clients, like you're willing to like sacrifice those moments of like them, you having a dispute with them or whatever it may be, because they don't want to do something that they need to do. And a good coach will like be able to see beyond that like instant reaction or whatever that may be, versus just like conceding anytime they want to do whatever. Because in the end, they are there for our expertise and our help, which means like stand by what you know. There's a reason you're like telling them to do whatever it is that may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they'll earn your respect too if you hold them accountable. I think some clients know that they need to be held accountable. Some may not realize that they need to be held accountable. But when you do hold them accountable, I think eventually they'll realize that they really do need that. That's why they reached out and are seeking, a coach in the first place, because they don't have that accountability on their own. They need that accountability from their coach.
Yeah. And honestly, do we really, as coaches, like we're professionals, we're good at what we do. That's why we're talking about all the people that suck in our industry and are terrible. Do we really want to invest our time in the person that doesn't want to get results and that we can't hold accountable? Absolutely not. Right. So if you're serious about it, which you would think that you would want to be because you're putting in the time and the effort and the money, then you want somebody to hold you accountable. So it's basically accept it, or I'm sure there's other people out there who are happy to take your money and just talk to you, right? Coaches, and you can feel good about the fact that you went to the gym and accomplished nothing.
Well, and every single client knows they need to be held accountable. They all say they want to be held, they want accountability or whatever it may be, until it's time to actually be accountable and actually do what you don't feel like doing or whatever it may be. Like they all say they need to be pushed. They want somebody to push them. They want somebody to hold them accountable, until they're like, oh, I can't come today because whatever. I'm not feeling it. And then they don't want you to tell them like, no, you need to come. So everybody knows they need to be held accountable. It's just the actual action of it is a whole lot harder than what people say when they're signing up. Right.
It's an interesting industry out there. So, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. There's lots of good coaches. There's lots of bad coaches. Choose wisely.
Yeah. Know what you're looking for, because it's so oversaturated with people who like tons of information, tons of people like preaching information that may or may not be true. So like you got to spend time, make sure you know what you're looking for, and choose wisely.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's all we got for you this week. We'll be back next week with more great stuff. Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.